Gospel. I'd say one of the greatest misunderstandings of the evangelical church is a misunderstanding of the word. I think we're getting better, but I believe there's still so much left on the table. The gospel unbound is what we're after. Largely, we have a small view of it in our heads. And you might be wondering what I'm talking about, because you've been to camp services and retreats, vacation Bible school and Christian school. You've walked the aisle in Christian camp and saw so many others get saved. You've heard the gospel time and time again. But can I be so bold as to say that's exactly the problem? I know. Sounds a little confusing. Give me just a few minutes to explain what I mean. See, what if the word gospel was like one of those words you say over and over again so much that it starts to lose its meaning? Like in the English language, words like good and great have steadily lost their influence as words. When we say something's good, we have to say it's really good. When we say something's great, we have to say it's really great. The gospel and its message could be the same way.
Jesus Christ, who are you? Oh, Jesus is Lord.
You don't have to beg him for what he died to give you.
No man comes to the Father except
the word gospel goes in and out of our ears so often that I don't think we realize if it's being underrepresented. We assume people know what it means even if they don't. Reduced to note cards and pre-prepared talks, the gospel can largely be implied. Here's the catch. We can't think of the gospel as something we move on from, but as something we take root in. I want to get back to the heart of the gospel. We generally tend to think of the gospel for salvation and then some other spiritual truths once you've received salvation. I would love to compel you. The gospel is not just what saves you, it's actually what grows you. It can be a commonly held belief that before Christ, I'm a really messed up sinner, I struggle with lots of things, probably big and bad. After I'm a Christian, I love Jesus now. I might have minor struggles, but nothing too pervasive or difficult. This narrative can be crippling. But this isn't the story of the Bible. The story of the Bible displays God's most loved ones doing quite horrific things. Let me pick the obvious one for you by reminding you that David had sex with a married woman, Bathsheba, and then slaughtered her husband. Adultery and murder wrapped into one. I have my doubts you've done both, let alone either of those things. Peter's another good example. Swept away by sin and fear and approval, he denied Jesus. You know it wasn't mere mistake if he did it 3 times. Now why do I share this? Well, because we often misunderstand the process of growth in the Christian life. Salvation is, yes, something that happens once, but it's also something that happens over your lifetime. When we talk about salvation commonly, we can interchange those words for conversion or regeneration. Your works do not save you. But God's salvation is multifaceted. It's a past, present, and future reality. When you become a Christian and are born again, God has saved you from the penalty of sin, what's called justification. A fun way to remember that word is to define it just as if I never sinned. It's the moment of salvation, if you can call it that. From death to life, from blind to sight, a heart of stone for a heart of flesh. You have a new love, a love for Jesus, not a love for sin. He is your greatest desire. However, our desires are conflicted, which leads me to my second point. God is saving you from the power of sin, what's called sanctification. This is a process. This is where you grow to love the things of God more than the allure of sin. It's progressive, it's lifelong, it's painstaking. This is the working out of your salvation, what Paul calls it. Let's talk about this complexity. To be in between, yes, heaven and earth, these two worlds are colliding. We know the end of the story. We know Christ's victory over our sinful tendencies. Yet, we lie in between. A war is waging, a grave attack on the soul. Scripture calls it the world, the flesh, and the devil, each grasping for our attention. We live out our identity as believers by pursuing holiness. This is anything but easy. We fail, we get back up again. We fail again, we get back up harder. So sanctification is all about what you know to be true about your identity, to be lived out through your activity. Okay, you died. Morbid, sorry. But we can't have the culmination of our salvation story without it. The final piece of the puzzle. You will be saved from the presence of sin. Glorification. All throughout your life, God was crafting you into a more perfect person. Scripture indicates that we are like gold with many impurities going through the fire for refining. At the stage of glorification, we become fully, finally, and forever like Jesus. See, on earth, we still sin, but God sees us like we don't. In heaven and the new creation, we actually won't sin anymore. And the way God viewed us here as perfect in light of His Son is the way we will actually act and behave. We then become the image bearers that God always created us to be. We can roam and rule in God's new creation with perfection. No more sin, no more crying, no more selfishness. Every relational tension, destructive tendency, proclivity to sin, gone. Love extended all the way, always others, never yourself. Doesn't that sound amazing? It is the final act. Everything made to right. How glorious. Imagine with me to walk those streets of gold. Family lost, found again. Perfect relationships. Creativity to the max. Work, no more dang thistles anymore. Never a sense of lack anymore. This ache to our souls, never again. We met Jesus. Okay, that was a lot. I know, but I was sharing this for a purpose. To display the fullness of the gospel. To display all that it's accomplishing. Now here goes my favorite part. The gospel. Not mere theological terminology. Not on the sideline. Not something you use once to make it onto the team. Such a piece. The gospel. The center of our lives. The story of the Bible. The narrative of Scripture. The more we realize what He's done for us, the more we can't help but obey Him. Love, it bubbles up, it oozes out, it overflows. Our cup, be it love, filled to the brim, filled to the max, because of a superior love. Death, that tree, His life given for ours. No greater love. Don't you see? The Christian life is response. Not something we've done, but something that's been done for us. The more we see it, the more we really grasp it, the more it will create amazing power in our lives. You want more love? Look at His love. What'll happen? Worship. Worship creates a reaction. Then, what can I do for this blessed man? Obedience. In this cup, how do we fill it back up? This is the call to remember. This is the gospel made present, right in front of us. Jesus died. He died for sinners. Our justification. That's what happened up on that cross. Courtroom scene slams the gavel, our verdict. You can go free. Could it be? Could it be that by belief in His name, He never counts another offense against you? It could be. It is. The gospel gives us growth. We become like Him by beholding Him. Rehearse this message. Remember it often. Make it a present reality, not a past one. This is the point. The more we remember the gospel, the more we